This is Professor Reed bringing you a review on Chapter 6, Factoring Polynomials, Section 2, Factoring Trinomials of the form of x squared plus bx plus c. So what you're doing in this case is, our first example, we have x squared plus 7x plus 12. What you're trying to do here is you're trying to find a number that multiply to give you 12, but add together give you 7. So you multiply two numbers, like 3 times 4, that's going to give you 12. But when you add 3 times 4, 3 plus 4 is going to give you 7. So the way you factor it out, you're going to have your x, since all of it is plus, you're going to put your plus, and then you put your 3 and your 4. That will be the answer to that. When you factor it back out, all you're doing is when you multiply 3 times 4, you get the last one. When you add the 2, you get the center. Next example, you have x squared minus 12x plus 35. In this example, you're looking for two numbers that multiply together to give you 35, and then they add, or in this case, when you combine them, you get a negative 12. So here you have to be careful with that, okay? Because when you're multiplying them, you're getting a negative 12. You already know that 7 times 5 is 35. Then when I say, okay, 7 plus 5 is 12, but here's the deal. I need a negative 12. So you have to remember those integer rules. Like signs, add and keep. So in this case, when you have a negative here, the two numbers that multiply to get it, it needs to be negative signs instead of plus signs. So your answer will simply be x minus 5 and 7. Because when you multiply 5 times 7, a negative times a negative going to give you a positive 35. But a negative 5 plus a negative 7 will give you that negative 12 in the center. Okay? Next example that we have, it has x squared plus 4x minus 12. In this case, we're trying to figure out what two numbers multiply together to give us a negative 12. Multiply, give me a negative 12. Add, and give me a 4. So when I look at these problems here, I'm thinking to myself, okay, 2 times 6 will give me 12. And then, hey, if I subtract 6 from 2, I'm going to get a 4. So in this problem here, it's all in how you arrange the numbers. You got to make sure you have the negative with the correct one, or the minus. So anytime you have the subtraction second, one of your answers is going to be negative, one of them is going to be positive. And whichever one is dependent on this symbol here. The answer always take the sign of the biggest number. So your biggest number will have to need this sign. So that means the positive will go by the 6 and the negative will go by the 2. Because again, you're trying to say what two numbers multiply to give me a negative 12. Negative 2 times a positive 6 will give me a negative 12. Then I'm saying when I combine these two numbers, how am I going to get a positive 4? 6 minus 2 will give me that positive 4. So that is how you will solve that problem. The next example we have a squared plus 2a plus 10. If you think about it to yourself, you're saying, what are my prime numbers that they have in common for 10? The way I can get 10 is 1 times 5, 1 times 10, and then 2 times 5. But when I combine them, none of them will give me a 2 in the center. So when I look at it and I say, okay, I'm trying to see how can I get that 2 in the center. When you look at it and see that you cannot get that 2 in the center, these problems are called prime polynomials. Meaning the factors between the set is only 1 in itself. So that's what makes it a prime polynomial. So you do have an option where you cannot factor it out and your answer will simply be prime polynomial. Okay? Next example, or the last example for this section, is when it talks to you, or it says, the direction says, factoring out the GCF. Okay? Now, when it asks you to factor out the GCF, the first example problem give us we have 3m squared minus 24m minus 60. So when it's asking you in this section to factor out the GCF, you want to see which one, what do you have in common between each one. In this case, it's only a 3. So you'll pull your 3 out. So when I pull my 3 out in the first one, I'm just left with m squared. When I pull my 3 out of the 24m, I'm left with 8m. And when I pull my 3 out of the 60, I'm just left with 20. So now I'm back to what I originally did. I need to find factors that multiply give me a negative 20, and add or combine and give me a negative 8. That's what we're looking for here. So once you look for that, when you find it, you're saying, okay, you got to keep your 3 on the outside, okay? Then since m is our variable, we're going to put our m in the front. And again, we're looking for two numbers that's going to multiply together to give me 20, but add or combine together and give me an 8. So in this case, it's going to be 10 and 2. Now, how did I get 10 and 2? I thought about everything that multiplied to give me 20. 4 times 5 give me 20. 2 times 10 give me 20. And 1 times 20 give me 20. So then I had to say, out of that peak, which one is the best combination that's going to give me that 8 in the center? So the way I'm going to get that 8 in the center is by my 10 and my 2 combination. Now I have to make sure I get my signs right on this case, okay? Remember, the answer take the sign of the largest. So in the center, when you're dealing with this, if the largest number in the center is negative, that means your largest number in your factor needs to be negative and the other one positive. Because what's going to happen again, as a review, you're saying negative 10 times a positive 2, and that's going to give me my negative 20. Then I have a negative 10 plus 2. When I combine them, integer rules, that give me a negative 8. This is Professor Reed, keeping math simple. Have a great rest of the day.